Breaking news, a Navy SEAL who says he fired the shot that killed Osama bin Laden has revealed his identity to the Washington Post. Who is this man? And did he actually take down bin Laden? Here's what we are learning tonight about him and his account. The former Navy SEAL's name, Robert O'Neill. O'Neill was a career SEAL and at 38 years old is now a motivational speaker.
I was a Navy SEAL for almost 17 years.
Here's O'Neill's version of what happened in the early hours of May 2nd, 2011. With no moon, under the cover of darkness, Navy SEALs entered bin Laden's house, relying on night vision goggles and instinct. Let me show you an animation of what O'Neill, speaking for the first time with his real name about that night, says happened. O'Neill told the Washington Post he fired the kill shot, saying bin Laden had his hands on a woman's shoulders, pushing her ahead of him. O'Neill says his bullet hit bin Laden in the forehead, splitting his skull. But other SEALs, without revealing their names, tell a different story about what happened in the compound in Abbottabad. Let's show you their version. They tell our Peter Bergen that another SEAL fired the shot to bin Laden's head, which you see in this animation coming from the area of the stairs that led to the floor where bin Laden was looking out the door of his bedroom. These SEAL Team 6 members tell Bergen that the SEAL who took that first shot at bin Laden won't ever speak publicly. And they say 2 other SEALs shot him before he finally died. 2 very different versions about a moment in world history that will never be forgotten. Joining me now is former Navy SEAL John McGuire and Joby Warwick, the reporter from the Washington Post who broke the story about O'Neill and interviewed him. So, Joby, let me start with you. You spoke to him. What did he say about this hugely contentious issue? Because a lot of SEALs are really angry, and I know John's going to talk about that. They're angry about why he came out and said, here's my name and here's my version. Why did he do it?
It was a very complicated decision for him for a number of reasons. First of all, there's a safety issue. He's worried about not only himself, but his family and people they care about. And there's also just this thing within that group of soldiers and SEALs. They don't talk about what they do. I think for him, it was important to control a story that he felt was coming out anyway. There's a number of people that knew the story, including many in the military community, members of Congress, a number of people in the media. And so he just felt that if this is going to come out anyway, I want to control how it comes out. I've got a story that I'm proud of. I'm proud of what I did, and I just want to tell it my own way.
So, John, as a SEAL, O'Neill's move to go public obviously is controversial. And as you could see, the other SEALs that are saying, well, first of all, he didn't fire the kill shot. That's not how it happened. They're not sharing their names, but they're now sharing their version. What is the oath that you took as a SEAL about secrecy?
Well, you know, it's whether you're a Ranger or a SEAL or Special Forces or any of the men and women who do these special missions, we don't talk about the missions. And then take nothing away from these men. I cannot be more, I cannot respect them any more than I do. We can't talk about what we do. The first problem that starts with the White House in that we should not know that Navy SEALs are the ones that took him out. And that's the first problem. And then the next problem is they should not know how we do it. They should just know that we took care of Osama bin Laden and the Americans are safer.
And I guess in a sense this sort of dangled in front of them the possibility of fame and fortune, which is, you know, you can't totally discount that, Joby, because, you know, you look at defense secretaries writing books and making a lot of money, suddenly coming out with their versions, and these guys are just supposed to sit there and be heroes and not say anything. How concerned is Robert O'Neill about his safety? When you think about it, we know his name, we know what he looks like, we know his age, we know where he lives, and he's the man who says he killed Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, I think that was a big downside as he was thinking about this, because, yeah, he's a public figure anyway because he speaks as a motivational speaker around the country, and he has, you know, frequent appearances and people know about these in advance. So it is a difficult thing. He's thought about this. I think he feels that he's safe. He feels that his country's security and his own personal sense of you know, self-awareness of looking after himself will take care of him. But I do feel like that he wants to set the record straight, and he feels like there's a piece of history that he was a part of, and he just wants to describe it. And just one other thing from his, you know, the narrative that's emerged, it's a little complicated. None of us are there, so we don't know. But it's, you know, he lays out a pretty compelling story that I've confirmed with other SEALs who were there, who just say that, you know, it was a confusing night, but it was Robert O'Neill who rolled into the room first and made that shot that took Osama bin Laden down.
So you have spoken to, because I know we were showing the animations of the 2 versions, that there are other SEALs there that night who say he didn't fire the kill shot. There were 2 other SEAls that actually were the ones that did so. But you're saying you've spoken to others, even others on the team, who do corroborate what he said, that it was Robert O'Neill.
Yeah. Yeah, the confusing part is there was a shot that was fired first by the guy who's the point man in this mission, somebody who was one step ahead of O'Neill. That shot, as far as O'Neill could see, did not hit bin Laden. They went into the room. Bin Laden is still standing. He's got this woman in front of him. O'Neill literally rolls to the floor and takes aim and shoots bin Laden in the head and sees the whole thing through his sight. It's a pretty compelling story that he tells. It doesn't dramatically differ from the other accounts we've heard. Self-awareness of looking after himself will take care of him. But I do feel like that he wants to set the record straight, and he feels like there's a piece of history that he was a part of, and he just wants to describe it. And just one other thing from his, the narrative that's emerged, it's a little complicated. None of us are there, so we don't know. But it's, he lays out a pretty compelling story that I've confirmed with other SEALs who were there, who just say that, it was a confusing night, but it was Robert O'Neill who rolled into the room first and made that shot that took Osama bin Laden down.
So you have spoken to, because I know we were showing the animations of the two versions, that there are other SEALs there that night who say he didn't fire the kill shot. There were two other SEALs that actually were the ones that did so. But you're saying you've spoken to others, even others on the team, who do corroborate what he said, that it was Robert O'Neill.
Yeah, the confusing part is there was a shot that was fired first by the guy who's the point man in this mission, somebody who was one step ahead of O'Neill. That shot, as far as O'Neill could see, did not hit bin Laden. They went into the room. Bin Laden is still standing. He's got this woman in front of him. O'Neill literally rolls to the floor and takes aim and shoots bin Laden in the head and sees the whole thing through his sight. It's a pretty compelling story that he tells. It doesn't dramatically differ from the other accounts we've heard, but I think it's a little more precise, and it seemed to hold a pretty good weight as we looked at it.
John, what do you make of the point Joby was making when he talked to Robert O'Neill about the fact that, it was, why did the White House say this were SEALs? Why did they put that out there and sort of make them famous, but then say, oh, you can't share your story, when as I pointed out, other public figures who are involved in defense and security and national intelligence get to write books and make money?
It's one thing to write a book about what you do as long as it's not endangering lives or what we do. And it's one thing to think you know what Navy SEALs do, and it's another thing for a Navy SEAL to go on TV or in a newspaper and confirm it. We have something in the military called operational security, and sometimes we say you don't know because you don't need to know. Of course, all Americans want to hear the adventure and the excitement of this thing to take care of an enemy who killed a lot of Americans. Mm-hmm. But as much as we want to know what Navy SEALs do, the enemy wants to know even more, and that just puts us at risk. So I think it's a big question, and maybe it's politics, maybe it was the timing of the election, but I think that if Americans just heard that we took care of Osama bin Laden, that would have been enough.
John, why do you think he did it? Why do you think he came out and said, here's my name? I mean, I know he's saying it was revealed on a blog, but why do you think he did it?
Well, you know what, we don't do what we do for the money. The men and women who sacrifice every day, it's amazing. In fact, this young generation of men and women do more in a year than I did as a Navy SEAL for 10 years. No. We don't do it for the money. We do it because I love our country and we love the American people, and we realize that evil does exist, and the only thing for evil to prevail is for good men to sit around and do nothing. So I'm not sure. Some of the things that he said about the story don't add up. It doesn't sound like the things that a Navy SEAL will say. The only thing I can imagine is, maybe you come back from war and you look healthy. Doesn't necessarily mean you are healthy. And we've all talked about post-traumatic stress disorder, and perhaps that's caused him to think differently. But some of the things he's saying or doing does not sound like what a special operator in the Army, Navy, Air Force, or even the Marines would say.
And Joby, to that point, when the SEALs that you've spoken to also on SEAL Team 6, even the ones who corroborate Robert O'Neill's version that he was the one who fired the kill shot, are they angry at him?
They're not angry, and I think John raises a really interesting point, because this is a brotherhood, and these are people who've gone through some really difficult, traumatic experiences that we can't really imagine. And it's not just sort of the psychological wounds that you carry after something like this, but also physical wounds. These guys are really banged up, and they come home. They're in this world, where nobody really knows what they did. They have struggles sometimes to find jobs or to get sort of benefits they think they're entitled to. It's a tough environment for these guys. And now they're all this additional media pressure with, before O'Neill came out with this story, there's sort of the This and That book that came out. And so there is pressure to try to tell your story and to try to reclaim your life. And it's not easy for these people.
All right, thanks very much to both of you. And now, less than a week after Virgin Galactic Spaceship Two